So I made a series of videos recently about the culture and the character of Philadelphia, and I hadn't yet mentioned that for the past 20, 20 or so, maybe even 30 years, much of the growth in population is due to people uh, immigrating into the U.S. Into Philadelphia, as opposed to an increase in native-born Americans. So today, there's actually been a net loss of people who are born in the U.S. So people they left Philadelphia, whereas all the population gain is in account to immigrants coming over. Much of the immigration into Philadelphia has coming from China, Mexico, and more recently a lot of people from the Dominican Republic, and they may become the largest immigrant group at some point in the future. Um, and of the Mexican immigrants, many of them come from the Puebla region. So a lot of the Mexican restaurants in Philadelphia, many of them, if not most of them, have food that is native to the Puebla region of Mexico. Fun fact. I feel that what makes up the character and culture of the city are the people who live and work in Philadelphia. Today, 15%, close to 16% of Philadelphians are foreign born. 20% of people who work in Philadelphia are foreign born. So that makes up a significant chunk of what makes up Philadelphia. And so as I said before, I grew up in the Philadelphia region, in northern Delaware specifically, since I was 4 years old. So I grew up in the Philadelphia area. And so the other recent videos I talked about is how I feel that I fit into the culture and character of Philadelphia. And so I went into a little detail about what kind of work I do, what is my profession. Um, so, uh, so I went into a little bit of detail that how I went into human services and behavioral science in college due to a desire to help people instead of end up being in a business where I'm selling people things that aren't that they don't need. So so I think that was important for me to be a benefit to society in some way. And part of this thinking was the how I noticed that a lot of the problems of Wilmington, Delaware, which is the central city um, of the part of northern Delaware. So, yeah, in northern Delaware, where I'm from, the largest city is Wilmington, Delaware. I mean, it's all still part of the greater Philadelphia region, um, but yes, Wilmington, Delaware is the largest city in Delaware and therefore also in northern Delaware. And Wilmington has had a issue with the perception of high crime, and so I think that has kind of hindered its attempt to bring in more people who also live there. So they've been building a lot of apartments, even though I heard they're pretty been successful in bringing people in, but the development of like restaurants and things and other like shops has been slow, I think, to the perception of crime. And though I do want a thriving Wilmington with a lot of things to do and a lot of good things to eat. I don't want that to be at the expense of pushing out people who are uh, unable to participate in spending a lot of expendable income, and just because they're seen as a reason for people to not come into the city. So I hope they can do that without displacing people or any gentrification. But and also much of the people who are um, people who are poor or low income that live in Wilmington, a majority of them are African American, and being myself a racial minority, growing up in the Wilmington area, northern Delaware, in the '90s, it's become a little more diverse than it was then. But I went to a majority white private Christian school from pre-kindergarten up to sixth grade, and went to a public school for middle school and high school. But as a part of growing up in a majority white space, um, and particularly with the Asian population making up, um, I think today we make up like 4 or 5% of the U.S., but that's including people from like India too, in South Asia. Um, so yeah, so there's a percentage-wise very few people that look like me compared to like other groups of people. And so with that being the case, even kind of like racist, racially charged, or uh, being made fun of for racial reasons. Um, I didn't have a name for that growing up. I didn't believe that was racism. We learned about racism, learning about Martin Luther King in elementary school, and racism is bad. But I didn't know to label what I experienced in that sense as racism growing up. But at the same time, I did feel um, like offended by the idea of people thinking that I was weird or less than because of the way I look or the perception that I'm foreign. So in that sense, I think I was able to kind of identify with other groups of people that experience like similar level of being looked down on for their appeared difference or being odd compared to like the majority. So I think that kind of um, made me like I guess more sensitive to the idea of like a systemic racism being a thing. I didn't have a name for that like growing up. So I learned that of course racism is bad. And then when I started going to public school, so once I started going to public school, there was more diversity. So there were in Delaware, in northern Delaware, they still um, bus the black kids from Wilmington up out into the suburbs and vice versa. So there was a mixture of the suburban white kids, and I think that our schools were at least for middle school and high school at least I have to say at least 20% black, and then also a significant number of Latino students as well. But coming from just learning that racism is bad, uh, I was reluctant to believe that any of like my the classmates from Wilmington were poor. So like even if they lived in Wilmington, I thought it would be incorrect or wrong to assume that they were poor. But unfortunately, due to like the demographic data, they probably likely a lot of them were relatively poor or low income. I don't know if any of them. So I mean, I guess not necessarily they're like poverty level, but still relatively lower income compared to kids from where I live in the suburbs. So I didn't even have a recognition of that while I was in school. But after learning more about our history with race and the idea or the concept of systemic racism, how redlining, discrimination, up until the Civil Rights Act in the '60s, how that would have prevented certain groups of people for gaining any economic or financial success due to barriers. And even after it became illegal to discriminate based on race, if you're already poor, and then the way that schools are funded through property taxes, if you're poor, you're most likely going to go to badly funded schools, uh, difficulty retaining teachers, a lot of turnaround with teachers. Um, so a lot of the teachers end up being inexperienced teachers who are teaching for the first time that don't have like the clout to get into the more established, better performing schools. So it kind of creates a cycle of having less experienced teachers and a low teacher to student ratio, meaning a lot more students and less teachers than they need. And also, this translates to less job opportunities for better pay. And so, especially at that point, even if the Civil Rights Act happened in the 60s, um, your and then also the way that how since becoming uh, more negative to the idea of welfare and things like that, it's kind of put them in a bad spot. We used to have a lot of blue collar jobs for people who don't get college educated, but all those jobs have been going away to deindustrialization, especially at the point the Civil Rights Act was passed. So even if it were illegal for them to be discriminated against getting good paying blue collar jobs, but the good paying blue collar jobs were on the way out by the time the Civil Rights Act was passed. And so I think I vaguely remember the idea of learning about. I remember the term redlining or blockbusting, where they would scare white people to move out of homes in the city and to make them into tenement buildings for the landlords to save money or to make more of a profit that way. But like during middle school and high school, I wasn't very into school, so I may not have paid attention if we talked about it at all. But it wasn't until after, I think even mostly after getting my degree, that I've learned more about the history of systemic racism and how we ended up with racial inequality today. And so, in that sense, like I think that what I do in terms of assisting, being a support person in the um, social welfare type field, the reason I went into that is due to these disparities where I feel are unjust. And again, the foreign-born population makes up 20% of workers in Philadelphia, even though I don't work in Philadelphia proper. So I think I can still say, even though I didn't grow up in Philadelphia proper, like within the city, I think like my story, uh, I don't know if it's particularly unique, but that may be a reason why I chose to stay in the area, and how I fit into the culture and character of Philadelphia.